Okay, that's been 5 minutes. I'm going to pour real slow. And I can see some air bubbles already floating to the top. So what I want to do is I want to rotate this. I've got some tweezers. And as I rotate that inside, I can see I got some bubbles right there. And if I just break those up a little bit, those will break free and float away. After rotating that a few times, I don't see any more air bubbles coming out. So we'll just let that set and we'll come back. This is what the first one looked like. Actually, my 5th pour. And this looks pretty good. And you can see how this works here. I could put the 4-jaw chuck on this, or actually on this side here, and then I have the dimple on this side here for the live center. So this will make it easy to turn down. We'll come back when this is ready to take out of the mold. Hi, welcome back. It's been a long time since I've done a video, but in this video I am going to be making a bespoke Japanese Ebonite nib adorned fountain pen that's a special order. And I have a 10-inch piece of black Japanese Ebonite, 18mm diameter, and I have it sectioned off from here for the cap, from here to here for the body, and here to here for the section. And through the magic of YouTube, I have that already cut and ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to start out with a section. The section is going to be 7/8 of an inch long. It's going to be concave, step back for 10 by 0.75 threads. So before we can do anything, we need to face both sides. So this is my mark right here for 7/8 of an inch from here that way. So from here this way, I need to cut a tenon and thread it like this. So the easiest way I found is to actually take my calipers and then just measure the distance of those threads and then turn it down to this outside diameter on the end of the threads. And my floating tailstock holder, I have an N10 by 0.75 die. And with ebonite, I found that you really don't have to lubricate it. It's not a very hard material when you're cutting the threads. I just want to relieve the back side of those threads a little bit. Let's run that across there one more time. Now that I've turned around, so I've turned this around inside the chuck, I step drilled an 11/32 inch hole about a 1/16 of an inch down. Now I'm going to use an 11/32 drill bit, and now I'm going to use a 19/64 drill bit, and I'm going in a 1/2 inch. That's a 1/2 inch. And then back to the 7mm drill bit. I just want to clean that out the other way. There, that broke free. So basically what we're doing here is I've drilled a hole that's 7mm here all the way through. We step drilled from the front in 11/32, 19/64, a 1/2 inch deep, and then 7mm all the way through. And then right here is where we'll put our threads that hold in the section. The section tap that I use is for a Jowo number 6. It is an M7.4-5D3 made by Tapco. Those threads are very delicate. Easy to strip out the section. If you strip it out, you have to throw it away, and start over. So usually I drill the holes first, I tap that, and if this is good, then I'll move on to the next step of shaping it. So time to test it. If for whatever reason it doesn't work, then I have to throw it away and start over. Okay, so now that threaded in really good. You can see that's threaded. Pull on that. It's threaded in. So that's nice. And then now all I have to do is shape that. This is a little homemade jig. This is a male and a female jig just out of some scrap ebonite. I have my caliper set to this first inset right here. So this gets screwed into here like this. Then this goes in here. And that is a concave section, 7/8 of an inch long. So that is our 7/8 section right there. That just needs to be wet sanded and polished. Now let's move over to the cap. Since this is solid black ebonite, there's no grain pattern to follow. So it doesn't make any difference which end I use, as long as I face one side and put a dimple on the other. So I'm gonna put this one in and then face the one side and then flip it over and then dimple it so that when I mount it to turn it, it's stable. So back to the 1/8 inch parting tool. With a 1/2 inch drill bit, I'm drilling up to this line here. So this is the plan right here. I've gone this deep here. Then I want to go 3/8 of an inch by 2.5 inches total length. With a 33/64, I'm going in 1 3/8 of an inch deep to this line. And the reason that is my tap and die. I like to step drill the inside of the cap so it doesn't overheat. Next, we're going to thread the inside of this with a tap, but I like to put on a small hose clamp to keep this from spreading as it's being tapped, so that way I know that when I put the cap, screw the cap onto the body, it doesn't fight it, it goes on nice. So this is a 3-start 14mm tap and die set, M14 by 080 is the thread pitch. And a 3-start means it has 3 points of entry. Like if you look at a milk jug in the store, some of those, the reason they go on so quick is because those are like 4 starts. So anyway, this is a 3-start, 14 millimeter, and then this is the die that goes along with that. We'll use this one for the body next. So for the body, it's pretty basic. We're just going to do a tenon right here, and then we're going to put a die on the end of that, drill this out, and we're going to tap the inside of that to accept that section that we made, and then the cap, which is stepped down, it's a different drawing than this one that I used, is just basically going to go right over the top of that. So now 11/32 by 3 inches, which is this line right here. And we have it drilled to that depth right there. And be careful when you take this out, that's going to be really hot. Now if you recall, when we made the section, I use this tap right here to make my measurement with the calipers so I can turn that to the right diameter so we can put the die on there. Well, now we're going to use this for that hole that we just drilled with the 11/32 drill bit. And that we are going to use, there's the hole. We're going to use this right here, right there, inside that, so that this will screw into the body. There, that looks good. So, just like before, I took the outside diameter of my 14 millimeter tap, and I turned this right here to that same diameter for the body, which is going to hold the cap. I have that ready for the die. I want to relieve the edge and then relieve the back side a little bit. So this is our cap that we just made earlier. Perfect. And this should go right in here, like that. And then this, of course, goes over that like that. So when we turn the body, this jig right here, again, just like what you saw earlier, is a male and female jig. This is the female side, which holds this body. This gets chucked in like this. Then we put the cap in, put the cap on, and then this goes inside here. For the cap, I want to indent this from this line here and this line here. This is 2 1/4 inches, and I'm going to round it down to 19/32, and it's going to be stepped down like this, but on both sides. It's not going to be stepped down completely, just from this point here, but the full 2 1/4 inches. And then once we get to this diameter, we'll put the nibs on here. Okay, so off camera, I just finished that real quick. That way you don't have to watch me do that. And you get the basic idea. Now all the nibs will set on here. And then we'll do the same thing to the body. I have this marked out to 2 3/8 inches. And I want to turn it down to the diameter of 29/64, which is this section right here. Inside. Okay, that is turned down to 29/64 diameter wise. Okay, so this is the body here, and then this is the cap. And then I had put a little bit of lubricant in here to lubricate the threads so that when I cast this in resin, those will be free. All right, I have my lines drawn out on the ends here and over here, all the way around. I have 4 lines, and I have these nibs right here. I am just going to line them up on the lines. And I had to flatten them out just a little bit. So those will go on like that. And like I said, there's a line right here and a line right here. It's kind of hard to see because it's graphite, but I can see it from when I'm looking at it at an angle. And to glue that in place, I'm just using some clear nail polish. And then it takes a little while for that to dry. So I will come back when I'm done with all of that. But first, we'll just show you what the process is. Nothing remarkable. Put in a little bit underneath.
I'm not going overboard with it, just enough to get it and put it in place.
And then when that cures, I'll put on the other 6. And then we'll come right back. Okay, it's been several days of gluing these and letting the glue cure, but you can see how that looks. That looks really good. And I also did the cap while I was at it. It was the same process. Now, the only difference is this nib here was really large, so I balanced it out with 2 small ones. Otherwise, these are very similar in size to what is on the bottom. And if we put that together, we can have an idea of how that is going to look. So once I cast this in resin next, I think this is going to make a really nice looking fountain pen. And like I said, this will be roughly the finished edge here. It'll be a little bit larger on the front side, and of course this will be smaller here and here. So with that, we will cast this next. All right, so this is the cap we have all those nibs attached to, and you can see that hole is drilled out there. So this is a little plug that I made that's also triple start thread, and that is just going to go on there like that. That's going to be tight. That's going to prevent any of the resin from going inside when this is casted. Now these are a couple of Teflon plugs, or 1 inch by 1 inch square, and these ends are going to go into that like this. And I have those lubricated on the inside with a little bit of mineral oil so nothing will stick to those. And that's just going to go in there like that. And then I'm going to mix a few ounces of resin, and then we'll pour over the top of that. To cast this blank, I'm using this Casting Craft clear polyester resin. I think they changed the formula on this. This is actually my 5th casting to try and get this right. I've put this in the pressure tank 4 times, and each time I've had nothing but air bubbles. So I'm trying this a different way this time. So in here I have 3 ounces of resin, and you can see there's some air bubbles right there. I don't know if the camera can pick that up or not, but there's just very few air bubbles from when I poured it out of the can. I'm going to let that sit 5 minutes before I add this resin, the catalyst. And I'm going to add 12 drops. I need 4 drops per ounce. and then we'll come back to that in 5 minutes when those air bubbles are gone. While I'm waiting for that, while I'm waiting for the air bubbles to dissipate, this is what that looks like right there, like we showed earlier, except I put a makeshift cap over the threads on the body, and it's solid. And I put some tape around here so that no resin will get past that and inside touching those threads. So what I have here on the ends, I have some Teflon blocks, and that's going to go on each side like that. These are 1-inch square Teflon, and then that's going to go inside my makeshift mold. But first, before I put that in there, I would just want to give this a coat, both of these, a little coat of mineral oil, so that this comes right off very cleanly. Just lubricating that up real good. It's not going to affect the inside of that at all. This is strictly for the Teflon. Even though it's Teflon, it still gets, that resin still sticks a little bit. So if I can mitigate any of that, it's much better in the long run. And then on the ends where it's dimpled, I'm going to do the same thing. There. So almost all those air bubbles are gone now. So I'm going to have to stir that up. So I'll introduce a little bit more air bubbles in just a minute. Now that's 12 drops of that catalyst. I'm just going to stir this in here without trying to introduce very much air, but I want to be able to be sure that I've got it well mixed. Now there's not very many air bubbles right there, but I'm going to let that sit 5 minutes before I pour, and then we'll come right back. Okay, that's been 5 minutes. I'm going to pour real slow. And I can see some air bubbles already floating to the top. So what I want to do is I want to rotate this. I've got some tweezers. And as I rotate that inside, I can see I got some bubbles right there. And if I just break those up a little bit, those will break free and float away. This is what the first one looked like. Actually, my 5th pour. And this looks pretty good. And you can see how this works here. I could put the 4-jaw chuck on this, or actually on this side here, and then I have the dimple on this side here for the live center. So this will make it easy to turn down. We'll come back when this is ready to take out of the mold. Okay, it's been 24 hours since I poured this, so we can take this out of the mold. That comes out relatively easy. And we can see that looks pretty good. Looks really good, as a matter of fact. And that's why I put that mineral oil on that, so that comes off really pretty easy. And I'm pretty happy with how that looks. It's still a little tacky, so I have to let this cure for several days before I put this on the lathe. So we'll come back in a couple days. It's been a couple days now since I cast these, and these are now ready to turn. This is the cap, and you can see what that looks like. I took this to the bandsaw to cut off those edges so it's less work turning and less messy. This is the body right here, and of course I did the exact same thing. So we're going to go ahead and start on the cap first, start turning that one down. I'm starting out with a round carbide cutter. Okay, so that's rough turn down right there. That's the cap. Now let's do the body. This is the body here. That's the body, rough shaped. Okay, all right, off camera I wet sanded this one. This is the cap. Now we're gonna wet sand the body. I have some clean water here. These are my micro mesh. This is 1500 grit, 1800 grit, 2400 grit, 3200 grit, 3600 grit, 4000, 6000, 8000, and 12,000 grit. And we're just going to work our way through the grits. Each one of these soaked in water. First I need to start it off with some 400 grit to remove the heavy scratches. This is 1800 grit. $1200 grit. $3200 grit. $3600 grit.
This is 4,000 grit.
This is 6,000 grit. $8,000 grit. And that was 12,000 grit. That looks pretty good. I'll just finish the section off camera and then we'll polish this. I switched to my wheel in the lathe, and I have this plastic polish resin charged on the wheel already. So now to polish the cap, I'm going to use this to hold this. I'm going to wipe the dust off with a micro cloth. And you can see how that looks really good. This is like the 8th try on this cap. Now I'll just do the body and the section off camera, and we'll come back when it's completely done. All right, it's been a long video, but this is what the pen looks like now. And you can see what that looks like. I have a Jowo number 6 broad nib on there. And if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Have a good day. Hey, this is Gabriel Castro. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel. You can click on the link right here and subscribe. You can watch a video series right here or the latest video right here.